With Apple's M series and the Snapdragon X Elite, we were all thinking that ARM-based laptops are going to be the future. But wait, Intel's Core Ultra Series 2 is here and it's way better than what we expected it to be. This Lunar Lake processor is the best thing that Intel has made in years, and we've tested it extensively inside this, the new ASUS Zenbook S14 OLED. Alright, let's talk a little bit more about this. Hi, I'm Arshad. You're watching Trakin Tech English, your destination for detailed, incisive gadget reviews. Now, before I talk about the ZenBook S14 OLED, I must really talk about the exquisite packaging that it comes with. So the box itself has this texture that is very similar to the laptop. So once you open it, the laptop actually blends with the whole packaging. So much so that the first time when we opened it, I felt like the laptop was not even there inside. And you get a separate box for the charger, which is a 65-watt charger, and you can charge your phone also with it. But you also get a separate high-quality sleeve with which you can carry your laptop around. Now, generally with ASUS ZenBooks, you are assured of one thing, is that they'll have extremely premium build and it'll have tight tolerances and it'll be very well made. And that's also true for the ZenBook S14 OLED. It is extremely premium. Firstly, it's pretty slim at 1.1 centimeters and it weighs only about 1.2 kgs. This is by far one of the most premium, compact, thin and light machines that I've held in my hand. And yes, that includes a MacBook. Now, ASUS uses a blend of ceramic and aluminium for the build. Now, this blend is called Ceraluminium, which is of course a very smart name for it. And it's not only well built, but it also is not a fingerprint magnet. And that's not it, this machine also comes with military standard 8108 certification, so you can stay rest assured that this one is built like a tank. And of course, this machine completely aces my one finger lift test. And once you've opened and you look at the display, and you know that ASUS's displays are extremely gorgeous OLED panels. Now, this one has a 14-inch 3K Lumina OLED panel with 120Hz refresh rate as well. You get 100% DCI-P3 color gamut support, you get support for Dolby Vision, plus there's VESA True 500 certification too. Simply put, it's color accurate. If you are somebody who's a creator and who uses Photoshop for editing photos, then you can really trust this machine for doing that. And it's also got great HDR performance for when you're watching Netflix. Now, while the content looks good on this display, the speakers are also pretty decent. The speaker setup has 2 tweeters and 2 woofers, and it's all Dolby Atmos certified. Now, it sounds clean and rich, but I felt like the bass is a little lacking. That's generally the case when you have to cram all of the components inside a thin and light machine. So that was the only problem that I faced. But anyway, you take a listen to it and let me know what you guys think. Now, before I talk about the port setup, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give us your support. We're trying to hit 1 million soon. As for the ports and buttons, you've got one USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A port. You've also got 2 USB Type-C port with Thunderbolt 4 support, and it also supports DisplayPort plus power delivery. You've got one audio combo jack and one HDMI 2.1 port as well. This is a solid I/O setup for a laptop of this size. There's also the 1080p ASUS AI webcam, which actually has like inbuilt sensors. Of course, with this webcam, you also get support for Windows facial recognition, and this is one of the nicer webcams we've used. It actually looks pretty good in Zoom calls. Now, talking about the keyboard, the keys are gently spaced out fairly well, but they do not have as much travel as we expected it to be. It's also slightly mushy, so it takes about a little bit of time for you to get used to your regular typing speed. But once you get used to it, it's fine. But this is the kind of compromise that ASUS has had to make, primarily because of the way the laptop is engineered to be slim and light. But it's the glass trackpad that completely blew me away. Of course, it's a massive one and it has support for all the Windows gestures that you will need. And just like the S16 OLED that we tested recently, if you haven't watched that video yet, go check it out. On this trackpad as well, you've got gesture controls that ASUS has added. You've got brightness and volume controls on the left and the right edge, and when you're playing a YouTube video, you get like the YouTube scrubbing option at the top. And every single time that we use it, we end up loving it. Alright, it's time to talk about that Intel Core Ultra 7 258V that's inside this, and it's based on Intel's new Lunar Lake architecture. Now, it is designed to be a complete package. So basically your CPU, your GPU, your memory, your controllers for wireless and controller for I/O ports, all of them are baked into a single die. And now, because of this design, the latency that's generally there between components, that has been significantly reduced. But that's just one of the advantages. Now, since the memory is baked into the die, you can get support for 32 gigs of LPDDR5X RAM type with 8533 mega transfers per second speed. And because of all that space saving with adding all of the components to the single die, you have space for a larger battery and you get a 72 watt-hour battery as a result. And by the way, we also opened up the laptop to see that you can actually replace your SSD. So if you want, you can replace your 1TB SSD with a 2 TB one. Yeah, this one comes with 1 TB inside. And this is a Gen 4 SSD, and here are the read-write speeds that we got with it. It's pretty, comparable with other Gen 4 SSDs we've tested. Also, this chip comes with a dedicated NPU with support for 47 TOPS of power. There's support for Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4, so all of the latest connectivity features are taken care of. Now, before I talk about how the Core Ultra 7 258V performs, we need to really talk about the battery to set some context. So with this 72 watt-hour battery, we're getting about 14 to 15 hours of battery life, and it's the best battery life that we've gotten on any laptop that we've tested here at Trakin Tech. And that's because the power consumption by default is a very low 17 watt TDP. And if you push up to the performance profile, we notice that it goes up to 37 watt TDP. ASUS says that it's a 28 watt TDP. And due to such low power consumption, we never felt like the battery was going to die. And all of this is possible because of the Intel Core Ultra 7 258V architecture. Basically, what you get is an 8-core processor with 4 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores, and there are just 8 threads. Or Intel doesn't use any sort of hyperthreading or SMT for efficiency. To simplify things, it's just how Intel has made this processor to ensure that you get the best power efficiency out of it, which was a concern that a lot of Intel users had till now. And of course, even if your battery dies, you can top it up really fast with that 65 watt charger. Alright, now it's time to talk about the benchmarks, and we've broken down the benchmarks into 4 different categories. Now, starting off with the single-threaded workloads, which is like your daily performance where you're talking about productivity apps and such. So in that, we noticed that in Cinebench we got about 99 points, and in Geekbench single core we got about 2600 odd points. Now in the second category, which we call office workloads, we ran PC Mark 10, and in that we got about 6513 points, which is pretty good. It's 75% better than most other users out there. Now in multi-threaded multi-core workloads, like for example, if you want to do like 2D rendering, we got like really good scores as well. In Cinebench R24, we got about 600 points, and in Geekbench multi-core score, we got about 10,600 points. Now, if you're looking at the Puget benchmarks for Adobe Photoshop and Premiere Pro, then you can see them on your screen right now, and it's fairly decent. Now, you must be wondering that the scores are not as exceptional as you expect them to be, but that's to be expected, because what Intel is trying to do with these chipsets is to offer excellent power efficiency. Now, that of course it achieves, but if this 258V were to run at a higher TDP, slightly more higher TDP, then you could eke out more performance from it. Now that's the CPU part of the equation, but where Intel has done a fantastic job is with the GPU. Now the Intel Arc 140V GPU is one of the most powerful iGPUs that we've tested. Now the scores that you're looking at your screen right now are for 3D Mark Time Spy, 3D Mark Steel Nomad Lite, and Steel Ray. And these scores, you will agree, are exceptional. Even the OpenCL score of Geekbench is fantastic. And when we played Valorant at low settings and the default 3K resolution, we were getting an average of 300 to 350 FPS. It easily runs Valorant. It can easily run even GTA 5. Of course, since you have a very powerful NPU on the machine, we tested out the Geekbench AI test, and the scores are impressive once again. But all of that NPU power cannot be utilized right now, primarily because Windows Copilot support with all of the features of Copilot are currently not available on this machine because it's not supported for x86 at the moment. It is currently only supported for ARM. But if you want to try out the NPU, there's the ASUS StoryCube app, which basically uses AI to sort out images and does like a really decent job of it. So after testing the Intel Core Ultra Series 2, I'm convinced that it's actually a game changer for the industry. And suddenly all of the improvements that ARM-based chips made, they feel like old news. And the ZenBook S14 OLED is definitely a good option to consider over the competition, because even at lower TDPs, it's giving us great performance. And when you look at Snapdragon X8, yes, it also offers good battery life, great performance, and great thermals. But the fact that Intel actually is an x86 platform and it won't have any problems with app support like ARM does right now, it just makes more sense to stick to that platform, right? Especially for the Intel fans out there. So what do you guys think of the ZenBook S14 OLED with Intel? I'm really curious to know your thoughts on what do you see of the performance that we've managed to get out of this, and of course of the whole laptop as well, which by the way, I really like. All right, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep tracking and stay safe.